Greetings, my fellow human beings. We are live. This is Live Free or Die. And today we have no intro music because we honor those who have fallen, our fallen soldiers and our fallen patriots who have fought and died for these great colors. And the spirit of 1776 lives here today as we celebrated the 236th anniversary of this great country that I love so much. So for all you out there who believe I do not love my country, get your head out of your ass, because I love my country more than you can imagine. That's why today I will honor my forefathers and honor those who thought of this great document called the Declaration of Independence. Today is July 7th in the year of our Lord 2012. And before we read the Declaration of Independence, sorry if that's boring to you, but before we read this great historical document, I just want to address a few issues about this document. Like the main scumbag media, like BBC, Fox News, and all the other scum pieces of crap media, excuse my language, who claim this document, the Declaration of Independence, is illegal. How can you claim such a thing? You know why they claim it's illegal? Because it states in it, as I will read, that one can overthrow a government who is tyrannical and replace it with something that is good and pure. So God bless Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, George Washington, John Adams, and the rest of the men who put their part and their heart into this document. Now we shall read. In honor of 1776 and our forefathers and all the soldiers and all the police who are fighting for our freedom, let's not forget our Constitution and our Declaration against the British Crown who have taken over this country via foreign banks. And you're wondering why I'm getting all excited in here is because this is the absolute truth, okay? Enough with the shades, because this makes me so angry that people have forgotten. You have forgotten. They barely even teach this in public schools anymore. Anyway, I'm going on a rant. Let's just get to it. Declaration of Independence, adopted in Congress, 4th of July, in the year of our Lord, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bonds which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Excuse me, pause. Before I go on any further, I want you to really listen to this declaration, because of a lot of what they explain here is actually going on today. So this document is very important, and this is why we should keep this document and keep our Bill of Rights. But anyway, I'm sorry, let's go on. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, not bankers from Europe. Excuse me, my emotions get the better of me. To secure these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that the governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and observations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Britain, the Great Britain, and King Obama, who's a British agent scumbag, is a history of repeated injuries and observations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them, formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusually uncomfortable and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and from convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws of naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migration hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislator. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, given his assent to their acts of pretended legislation for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us. This is happening today by training foreign troops in our land and bringing them here. This is exactly what's happening today. Excuse me. Let's go on. for protecting them by mock trial, for punishment for any murders which they should commit in the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, Obamacare, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury. I have experienced this myself. Trial without jury. That's why I do what I do today. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule in these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our legislators and declaring themselves invested with the power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burned our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworth the head of a civilized nation. He has constructed or constrained our fellow citizens, taking captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections among us, and has endeavored to bring the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attention for our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislator to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. And we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these observations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. We must therefore acquiescence in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies and the right ought to be free and independent states that are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the on the protection of our divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. That was the Declaration of Independence. Now let's have a moment of silence for our forefathers and their great ideas. All right, now we will read our Bill of Rights, which are basically the first 10 amendments to the Constitution of the United States. Amendment 1, freedom of religion, press, and expression. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievance. You have today's administration trying to, actually a memo was leaked that Obama states in his second term of office, if he gets elected again, that he will do away with the First and the Second Amendment. Now let's go on to our Second Amendment. Right to bear arms, which has been totally abolished here in New York City. Unless you bend down and kiss Emperor Palpatine's ass, which is Mayor Bloomberg. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Third Amendment, quartering of soldiers. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. The Fourth Amendment, which has been violated here in New York City over 900,000 times so far this year, and the year isn't even up. You police officers out there, before you decide you want to, what do they call it, stop and frisk and grab somebody's genitals, their nutsack, excuse me, read your damn amendment, okay? Understand it. Because in Madison Square Garden, that day when you graduated from the police academy, you swore to uphold this oath. Now, when you stop and frisk me, you're going to have a problem. Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So when the police come and knocking on your door saying, "Can we come in?" you say, "No. No! Not without a warrant, sir. Now get out of here." Now, I love all police. There are good police out there. This is why I'm stressing that the police and the military need to understand this. Because when they start saying that people like me are domestic terrorists, you're going to have a bloodbath on your hands. You're going to have a civil war on your hands. And I'm trying to stop this intellectually before it goes to the battlefield. Fifth Amendment, trial and punishment, compensation for takings. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment of or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. I want to read that last part again. Nor shall private property be taken for public use. That's going on today with Agenda 21. They are taking people's land and then giving it to themselves for public use, making them state parks and such. Our Sixth Amendment, which I'm sorry, I have been personally affected by all these things. All of my amendments have been personally violated. This is why I get so emotional. Our Sixth Amendment, right to a speedy trial and confrontation of witnesses. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and a public trial. So when they arrest you and they hold your case for like 2 or 3 years, you demand you want a speedy trial and a trial by jury, not by no damn judge. Because all it takes is one person, one juror out of the 12 to get you off. That's what's great about this country and this Constitution, which these communists don't like. All right. Let's read it over. Our Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, and to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. Legitimate counsel, not no damn legal aid who has 3,000 criminal defendants that he has to take care of. Oh boy. Seventh Amendment, trial by jury in civil cases. In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. Our Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. This is going on today, people, when they bring you to jail on a minor offense and then give you a $3,000 bond, which you cannot afford. And then they put you in a freezing cold cell, and you're basically freezing your testicles off. Anybody who's been down in the Tombs or MCB, Manhattan Central Booking, knows what I'm talking about. That is cruel and unusual punishment, giving us those damn bologna sandwiches. Don't ask me why I know so much about this. Amendment number 9, our Ninth Amendment, construction of the Constitution. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And our 10th Amendment, powers of the states and people. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Not to Obama and his federal government, not to Mitt Romney and his federal government, not to George Bush and his federal government, not to Bill Clinton, not to any one president. The power belongs to the people. For I am a constitutionalist and I will die one. So help me God. Now we have other amendments, which are good amendments, like the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, because we all know slavery is an abomination. And white slavery still goes on today. I'm talking about sex slavery. And you got dime corps and government agencies who are responsible for this. But there is one amendment that has basically put this country into ruins. And it is the 16th Amendment. Status of income tax clarified. This was introduced on the 3rd of February in the year 1913. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect tax on incomes from whatever source derived without appointment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. This amendment should be abolished because in the year 1913, when they had this amendment, guess what? The IRS came into power in 1913, the Federal Reserve, and the federal income tax, all in the same year, which I believe are all unconstitutional. We need to abolish the IRS, abolish the Federal Reserve, and all these unconstitutional entities, you socialist, communist bastards, fascist, Marxist, whatever you want to call yourselves. I know I am a revolutionary constitutionalist that brings peace before he brings war. And speaking of, we only got a minute left, so I got two articles I want to cover. Homeland Security reports list liberty lovers as terrorists. Americans who are suspicious of centralized federal authority, reverent of individual liberty, deemed domestic threat. This is by Paul Joseph Watson of Infowars.com. A new study funded by the Department of Homeland Security characterizes Americans who are suspicious of a centralized federal authority as extreme right-wing terrorists. I am not right-wing. I am not left-wing. I am dead center, right at you. Damn the torpedoes, I'm coming straight at you. So Homeland Security has now labeled me and you, who loves liberty, a terrorist domestically. Our last article before we go. Army Course Manual trains soldiers to confiscate constitutionally protected firearms. Get ready, people. They are coming for the guns. This is from Kurt Nemo. And it shows here police and military confiscated weapons in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. That's right. During Hurricane Katrina, they went door to door on these rich mansions where there were no floods, and they confiscated guns from people who were trying to protect their property. All right, people, we are out of time. Thank you for tuning in for this very educational constitutional show. God bless America, God save the Constitution, and if you have received this transmission, you are the resistance.